Hey Buns, so today I want to talk about a rather grim subject, and that is the subject of character death in Final Fantasy XIV. I have had this on my mind a lot lately after watching the spoilery 5.3 trailer. I spent most of the morning watching it on repeat, and if you've seen it, you know that it is dropping some pretty major serious hints that not everyone is going to be okay. It has some Shadowbringers spoilers in it, and this video will have big spoilers in it too. I tried to record a version of this video where I did not make it spoilery, and it was way too difficult to talk about what I needed to talk about, obviously, because it's about character death, and it was just like, well, you know that guy, like, you know when that happened, and it started to get really silly. So unfortunately, this video will be spoilery, and just come back and watch whenever you are done with Shadowbringers. And after I was watching the 5.3 trailer over and over like a crazy person, I then saw this article from Fanbyte, which I tweeted about, where Yoshida said some extremely ominous things about character death in 14. The writer had mentioned that they feel that Emet-Selch is probably the best villain in the entire series, and the writer asked Yoshida if we can hope to see Emet-Selch again, like, is his death actually final? And Yoshida said, I can't say you will never see him again, of course. I can't exactly disclose it, but we don't know. He grins. Like, I feel very conflicted about that statement because it sounds a little bit leading. I mean, it's like, does it mean maybe we'll see him in some kind of a echo flashback? Like, that's kind of what I had been expecting even in the previous patch that we didn't get. Or could it mean something else? Like, as much as I would love to see Emet-Selch again, like, as overjoyed as I would be by that, I think it would also bother me, because he had such a beautiful story, and the finality of his death made that story more compelling. It made it more sad. It made it stick with me more. Like, that smile that he gives at the very last moments, just as he's about to fade away. Like, oh my god, I don't want to. It's like, this is a really difficult video. This is becoming a very difficult video to talk about. Oh my god. Look, I went through that. That was a year ago that I went through that. And like, even talking about that now, like, I can feel like that weird tickly feeling in the back of my nose. You know what I'm talking about. Oh boy. Anyway, the article goes on to say, I find it hard to imagine not seeing Emet-Selch again, given that he's become one of the most popular characters in the series. Natsuko Ishikawa, that Shadowbringers' brilliant main scenario writer, is deservedly proud of striking the balance in Emet-Selch's cruelty, humanity, and tragedy. However, Yoshida says the fates of many characters in 14 are pretty much already decided. A character's popularity has little bearing on their fate. I don't know how early on they decide the fate of the character, because in the case of someone like Papalymo, his sacrifice averted a calamity that would have deleted half the map. He bought us enough time to activate Omega, and that is significant. But I could never shake the feeling like he needed to die. Like he was in the way as Ida's sidekick. And by removing him, Lise could go on to Stormblood and leave behind her identity as Ida. It was like Papalymo is inconvenient to the story they wanted to tell. I've talked to people who are Lise stans, like big fans of the way Lise is portrayed in the game and portrayed in Stormblood. I've had people argue to me, oh, well, she's just a very strong leader. Like, she's just good at keeping her composure. And I want to believe that, but I also wish that I had seen more of, like, just basically her struggling to cope, because, I mean, they were two peas in a pod. Anyway, some fans bring up Harshaphon, Yoshida said, and some people say that, oh, he was killed because he was popular, and we think it's actually backward. We had really fleshed out his character. We wanted to have him know what he's fighting for, what his goal was, what his stance was, and everything. He was fighting for a certain cause, and that was already determined before he was even introduced in the narrative. Yeah, I think in the case of someone like Harshaphon, like, I'm okay with the way that he went out. I felt like that was appropriate. That was an incredibly, it's like one of the iconic moments of Heavensward. I mean, obviously it was painful to endure, but it felt like it gave proper respect and dignity to that character and what they meant to the Warrior of Light. Although Final Fantasy XIV hasn't had trouble with killing off supporting characters, One criticism among some fans is that it's a bit reluctant to raise the stakes and sacrifice some of its more prominent characters. While Haurchefant is still mourned by much of the player base, his shocking death occurred all the way back in Heavensward. Several characters in Stormblood, oh, here we go. Including its major villain, had fake out deaths. Thank you. Who's the writer of this article? Natalie Flores, you are awesome. Thank you for bringing this up. Yes. Stormblood's fake out deaths was, I think, one of the major problems with that whole expansion. It was incredibly frustrating for me with what happened to Xenos. You see him like slice his throat open, and he jumped using his resonant stuff technology into a different body. Now he's still back up our butt. There's the situation with Yotsuyu and Gosetsu, who apparently first, I really didn't like that whole storyline. What happened there? Like they die in the tower, when the castle, when it collapses, or we think they're dead. And, the turtle guy goes to look for them, and he's gone for 2 minutes. He's like, "Oh, I checked," and we're like, "Really? Are you sure that you checked? You can swim, right? Did you look that hard?" And he's like, "Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely searched really hard for your friends." And I'm like, "Did you though?" I feel like you didn't. I feel like you really didn't. Can we find another turtle? Is there anyone else that can help? At least who didn't expect them to be alive somewhere? We all did. Anyway, in Shadowbringers, it was only expected that Emet-Selch would die as the primary antagonist. I asked him if the team is aware of this criticism, and if, given the suspenseful trailers for patch 5.3, suspenseful, that's the understatement of the century, it's something they wanted to tackle. Yoshida said that he's often heard people making assumptions about characters and their plot armor. He uses Urianger, one of the main characters, as an example. He's seen fans believe that Urianger can't die simply because he's the holder of a quest. Oh, the extreme trial quest. And to that he says, that kind of thinking, you should not have that kind of thinking. We don't like to ad-lib in terms of oh, this character's going to go, or this character's going to die. It's not random either. At the same time, yes, people might notice that those in the core cast may not have died over the course of the story, he explains. Since Final Fantasy XIV constantly depicts wars, conflicts, and battles, he says it's unrealistic to not have any sort of sacrifices, even on the ally side. So I don't mean to scare you. This is not by any means a threat of any sort, but don't get too comfortable knowing that, these characters are safe, because you might be in for quite a shock. Look, this is the quote that led me to this interview. The last thing you want to hear from Yoshida is him saying, "This isn't a threat, but that's not good." I feel like I just wanted to make this video today. This is a cry for help or support after hearing this. There was another absolutely amazing article from GameSpot, which, by the way, big shout out to the writer of this article, Michael Higham. You are a legend. You asked Yoshida about butts. Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute, just to lighten up the mood here on this video. But also in your article, which included butts, you talked to Yoshida about the Exarch, the Crystal Exarch. First to ask, why is the Crystal Exarch so cute and good? Basically, such an endearing, lovely character. And sorry, Exarch stands, but Yoshida said definitively, it's not a romance, okay? He's just very simple and pure. He just wants to go on an adventure with you. It's not about romantic feelings of love or crushing on the warrior of light. That's what you think, Yoshida. You don't understand. You don't know. Anyways, obviously he is very pure. Too pure. Is he too pure for this world? I hope not. The writer, Michael Higham, said, "Oh, you got me worried. That's my boy. Please don't hurt my boy." And Yoshida said, Yeah, he's young at heart. Then the things about, oh, it's not romantic. Okay. He has a straightforward reverence for your warrior of light. That's the personality of the Crystal Exarch and what shapes him. I think that's one of the reasons why players have had such an affinity for the Crystal Exarch and just take a liking to him. When we were considering bringing back Grahatia, the team just wanted to tell him good morning or just great seeing you and wake him up again. I hope you do get to see 5.3 with your own eyes. And from the trailer, I'm sure a lot of people may be shouting and screaming. Yes. But I mean, just please see it through. The Shadowbringer story is Crystal Exarch's story as well. Okay, so when the writer said, that's my boy, please don't hurt my boy, Yoshida said, just see it through. Okay, that's not very encouraging. We need to prepare ourselves now for what's coming. Like, real talk, I feel like there's no way he's gonna come out of this. Like, I just don't see how that's gonna happen. I don't want to be a doomsayer or anything, but really, who thinks that he's gonna make it out? Really, tell me. Like, I don't. They were dropping some pretty serious bombs in this trailer. Oh, I said we're gonna talk about butts. Yeah, okay. Because it was in the same article about help, please don't hurt my boy. We're also later in that article, Yoshida was asked about the butt size slider. So that's what we're going to talk about to close out the video. He gets asked this question all the time. He said, if we were to have a slider where all of our players have the option to enlarge their behind, we would have to look at all of our equipment. There are thousands in the game. We'd have to remake each one to anticipate. Some people might slide their butt slider all the way to the max and trying to accommodate for what is physically impossible unless we implemented this physics simulation so the model of the fabric would not overlap with the model of the behind. I mean, considering how many people are being rendered on the screen at the same time, with this being an MMORPG, it's crazy. It's not feasible. The hardware cannot accommodate the clap of your ass cheeks. It can't. It's just, we don't have the technology to be dummy thick. But then Yoshida surprised me. People clamor about the butt slider, but what if our current state would be your maximum size and the slider adjusts your butt to be smaller? Would people want that or not? And the writer's like, no, like, what are you talking about? And he's like, that's not right? People just want to make it larger, right? Yes. Anyways, I feel like he's been asked about the butt slider so many times that he's starting to be like, oh, really? How about I'll give you a butt slider, all right? It's going to go the other way. I don't even know how that's possible. Like, it would just collapse into itself like a neutron star. I'm glad we could end this video on a bit of a happier note, bit of a more fun note, because this is a very, very, it's hard to talk about death, you know, even in a video game. These characters mean a lot to us, and I already had to cope with losing Emet-Selch, and it's still hard. Like, earlier talking about it, it made me feel very sad again. But, you know, we gotta face the story head on and not be shying away from the consequences of the work that we do as warriors of light, you know. I'm not wont to run from my troubles. Don't you dare touch Y'shtola. Don't. All right, buns. Well, that's enough for me today. I really needed to talk about this. I needed to talk, and I hope that you will talk to me about it too. Like, who do you think is safe? Who do you think is not safe at all? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or on Twitch. You can also support the channel for free by clicking the subscribe button or by sharing this video with your fellow warriors of light that have already completed Shadowbringers, because this video is extremely spoilery. Do not share it with people that didn't do the story yet. Okay. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.